the story's different. The story of humans is a story of engineering. It seems to be a story of genetic engineering. It seems to be a story of human beings being decades, Washington liberals like Bernie Sanders and Sherrod Brown voted to rain down your benefits on illegal immigrants, your Social Security, your Medicaid. And when COVID hit, Washington liberals like Sherrod Brown voted to
Hello, hello, hello.
checks on illegal immigrants. Now, liberals in Congress want to pour more benefits on illegal
Hello, hello,
immigrants
hello.
who never earned them. Call Congress. Tell them to stop making it rain for illegal immigrants.
Hello, hello, hello.
Of human beings being taken, like you take like whatever this primitive beast is, and you put something else into it, and you rapidly create something that's far more advanced than anything else. I think along the lines, you maintain too much of the primitive beast for the amount of intelligence that it has and the amount of technological competence that it's capable of achieving. It's too primitive still. It's too violent. It's too territorial. There's too much of it that's still an animal. But we're not totally an animal. If you looked at us and looked at everybody else, like, that animal's crazy. This animal likes fucking airplanes. We're so different than everything else. I think we're engineered. And I think we're engineered like, look, I've had pit bulls, and I know people will tell you pit bulls are great dogs and they're sweet dogs, and I love them. Don't get me wrong. However, they're sketchy fucking dogs.
Join my fucking party, you pussies.
They're sketchy dogs, period. And you can love it. Oh, it's all how you train them. Fuck
Join
you.
my fucking party, you
Those dogs are
pussies.
designed to attack other dogs, and they don't. I had my dogs that I had to separate once. You never should have two females together. I realize that.
I have that going on right now. It's not good.
Females, you got to get rid of one of them. You can't have the females together. They'll fight to the death. And males establish dominance. One male is dominant over the other males. The other males back off, and that's the rule. That's not how it works with females. The female dogs, they keep trying to decide who's the boss. And I had to separate them. They're locked onto each other, and they're wagging their tails. They're biting each other's face and neck, locking onto each other, and I mean full wagging the tail, like they're having the time of their life. And I had to hose them down and separate them. I had to have someone help me. We made them. Those are not a dog that, like, it's not a wolf. Wolves are really fascinating, clever creatures that have evolved over time with nature. And they're brutal to each other, but they're brutal to each other in a way that makes sense for the survival of the pack. It all makes sense if you look at like how it works and how they have to communicate together and they have to push out the weak ones and push out the old ones. It's brutal, but it makes sense. Yeah, pit bulls don't make any sense. They make no sense, and people don't make any sense. People are like something that somebody created. People are like super intelligent, very aware of our own finite lifespan, very aware of our own mortality, very aware of the consequences of hurting people, yet we do it anyway. Yeah? We communicate with each other. We know it's people that like their entire day is just fucking with people online. Oh yeah, their entire day is that. Like, so people like to cause pain, like to cause chaos. There's people out there that are warmongers. They enjoy starting war. They enjoy like getting involved in conflicts with other nations. That's their thing. That's what they do. We're fucking weird. We're weirder than any other animal. And I think one of the reasons why we're this weird and this incoherent is because we're engineered.
One thing that so I studied philosophy in college because at one point I thought I might go to law school. I love like thought experiments. And one of the things that always stuck with me that's sort of along these lines is this idea that humans are almost to the point where you can't even notice it. You are completely egotistical. Like every human, you could basically define their whole existence as being absolutely egocentric. And it comes down to like how you treat other people and your motives, whatever. But critically, there's one point that stands out above all. And actually, Neil deGrasse Tyson nails this. I know you had an interview with him. I'm not sure if you guys covered this, but it's one of his best descriptions of how fucked up humans are and how we think about things the wrong way. So because we're so egotistical, like humans as a species, we sort of assume that, okay, well, if there's life in any capacity outside of Earth or undiscovered life somewhere, everything is sort of compared against us. We are the baseline. Intelligent life, you know what that looks like? Yeah, it looks something like us. How do we describe intelligent aliens? They're like gray beings that are like bipedal and sort of resemble humans. We have this sort of baseline thought that humans are the best and that humans are the smartest and that if anything is going to be intelligent in the universe beyond us, it'll have elements of human to it, right? And so Neil deGrasse Tyson brings this point up that shows you the absurdity of how little we know and how probably wrong we are. He's like, okay, I think he does a much better job of this, but it's like, okay, so we're made up of DNA. Humans are made up of DNA. X number of DNA strands. I'm going to botch the way he tells it, but imagine we have 100 pieces of DNA that make us human. Like, if you have these 100 pieces, you're a human. Okay, well, who's our closest relative to humans? It's probably the chimpanzee. And just for the sake of this description, sorry, Neil, you probably do a better job. They have like 98 of the human pieces, but they got either they're missing two or they have two different ones, and that's the thing that makes them a chimpanzee. So they're like 98, right? And then you have, well, what's the next closest thing to humans? It goes human, it goes chimp, maybe it goes to like fucking, I don't know, a bird or a dolphin or whatever. But you go down the line of like the animals that are closest to us in terms of intelligence, and you sort of degrade in terms of number of DNA pieces that are close to the ideal, which is 100. And Neil's like, okay, great. So you have that framework. Okay, what the fuck do we do to chimpanzees? We put them in labs and we test them in labs. We put them in fucking zoos. Do you go up to chimpanzees and say, "Hey, chimp, let's have a conversation. Let's have a meaningful No, you don't, and they're the closest thing. Let's go down the list. What about an ant? Like an ant's like 75 of 100. You might step on an ant and not even know it, right? How many times have you stopped to talk to the earthworm? None, because it doesn't even register for you. He's like, if there's intelligent life in somewhere out there, what makes you think we're not the ant? Why are we automatically at the same level? Why would an intelligent species somewhere else come here and be like, oh shit, humans? Let's chat. What if we're so insignificant that we get stepped on the way we step on ants? Or worse, what if we're close, like the chimpanzee, and we get rounded up and fucking studied? There's that, by the way, if you want to, there's a movie I just watched last night called The Signal. It has to do with this. I love sci-fi movies. Check it out. It's a fucking
The Signal.
This holy shit! What a plot twist! It has to do with human testing. I kind of
Is it a new movie?
No, it's like 2014, and it's you got to watch it, and then
Who's in it?
no name actors.
Lawrence
I'm sorry,
Fishburne.
not no name actors at all.
He's the one
Is he
where
fucking?
no, I mean, to be fair, he's the one where
Lawrence Fishburne. It's amazing. So this movie, admittedly, you're watching it and you're like, wait a minute, I kind of get it. I kind of get it. You get to the end, and it's.
Don't
I will
spoil it.
not spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. You get to the end. I challenge anyone who watches this to think about the example I just gave you about are we the ant? Are we the chimpanzee? What place do we have in the universe? And with that in mind, think about the ending to that movie because it's very sudden the way that movie ends, and you realize what the point is, and it's the stark reminder that not only do we not know what else is out there, let alone on our own planet, we're still discovering things that we've never even seen, and that just has to do with fossil records. Who knows what's beyond that?
Right.
What? How do we rank in the universe? Like it's so unbelievable that when you look at our problems, you look at the things that we focus on, and like our gripes day to day and our conflicts with the world, if you just zoom out and you realize it's not just that we might not be alone, it's that we might be insignificant.
I don't think we're insignificant.
I hope not.
I think what humans are is a latter stage of intellectual development amongst multicelled organisms, and that it's not the end stage. And I think there's probably life out there that doesn't have as chaotic a solar system, that developed in a different way, that achieved very high levels, probably above and beyond anything we can even imagine what we are, and it might not even be biological anymore, which is the direction that I think we're headed into. But I also think that what we do to animals, I mean, look at what we're doing right now, okay? My friend Ben Lamb, he owns Colossal Bioworks. So Colossal, they the ones that brought back the direwolf.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Yeah, that was huge news.
Crazy.
Crazy, dude.
I've seen them in real
I
life.
think I saw it in your
Yeah.
post. Yeah,
I
that's crazy.
went to visit them, and my daughter was holding the 4-month-old,
Oh my god.
and it was like kissing her and loving on her like a puppy. And it's a little baby wolf. It's really crazy. Just think of what we do with genetic engineering, with the current technology, which is right now evolving and getting much more powerful. If you could imagine us, not 1,000 years from now, but even 100,000 years from now, how advanced we are, and if we go to a planet and we find some chimps, and we say, "Wow, how much time would it take before these chimps could become something special, something that could make a building, something that could make a cruise ship,
Yeah.
Very Carnival Cruise Lines."
Those are pretty incredible.
How long would that take?
I don't
And
know.
can we help that? Every single ancient culture, if you go back to their oldest religious texts, oldest religious texts are about some sort of an intervention by an advanced visitor. All
Really?
of them. Oh yeah, man. So many of them. The ancient Sumerian texts. If you go into like, it's hard to know what they're really saying, right? Because I'm not a language expert, but there's the Zechariah Sitchins of the world that believe that what they're describing is some sort of genetic engineering. Then there's also the fact that the sign for medicine where you have the intertwined snakes.
Yes.
That sign, I forget what that's called. But
I definitely can picture
it looks like the double helix for DNA.
It does.
That sign is in these ancient Sumerian clay tablets. It's all over ancient Sumer. It's in their buildings. It's like not only it indicates medicine. What is it called? Caduceus? I think that's what it's called, right? The Caduceus, right? So not just that, but the ancient Sumerians in 5,000 years ago, they had a detailed depiction of the solar system. So in one of their ancient clay tablets, like they have this image, and this image is of a sun and all of the planets in the correct order. It's very weird.
Crazy.
It's very weird. They also have depictions of these very enormous people with these like ornamental headdresses. A lot of them have wings. A lot of the weird ancient people, the gods, have wings, and they also have like these little people on their laps that have tails.
Jeez.
This weird shit. So if you believe Sitchin, and Sitchin's claims that we were genetically engineered to work for the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki are a species of super advanced beings that were likely giants that came from another planet.
Unfortunately. Turn of events.
No.
It says here the caduceus, which you can see in that picture, I guess, right there,
Yes.
is often confused with the rod of Acelestus.
What's that?
It's just a single snake. And that is what is popularized as the
It's a classic confusion with rod of
Professional
Acelestus.
Healthcare Associations, a dominant symbol for professional healthcare associations in the United States. So it's just a United States thing.
Oh, it's only United States?
I think so.
But wait a minute. Okay, but
It's never been used elsewhere?
that caduceus does exist in ancient Sumer.
Correct, but that's where I just
So like that.
Yeah.
So look, but my point is that
How
looks
is that
like
not the same thing?
it is the same thing.
No, it's just this a single snake is the medicine thing.
Okay, but the medical corpse one right there in that image is two snakes.
Oh,
Click on that. That's two snakes.
it's two snakes. I can see how there's confusion.
Yeah, but
Popularized the misuse of the symbol throughout the United States medical field.
okay. All right. Well, that one has two snakes. That one has one snake. Point is, go to the Sumerian one, the image. Um, it exists on buildings. Exists all over the place. It looks just like the double helix of DNA. It doesn't mean that's it.
No.
But it's a lot of weird shit that is associated with medicine.
Right.
Like, why is the actual structure of our DNA associated with medicine in these ancient cultures? Why do they have these images of these enormous people with wings? Like, you would imagine if something came from somewhere else, you would depict it. If it could actually fly, if you're 100 years later, 1,000 years later, 200,000 years later, you're writing it down like, oh, they had wings. Like, there's a lot of fucking weird stuff that exists in these ancient scriptures, the Vimanas and ancient Hindu texts. These flying vehicles, there's a lot of weird shit that seems to indicate there's a creation myth, and the creation myth has to do with something coming here and making us.
It's the largest corruption scheme in state history on John Husted's watch. First Energy paid a $4.3 million bribe to install their hand-picked utility chair. He approved their bailout. Now that same commission is demanding Ohio pay higher utility rates to cover their build-out, and John Husted won't stop them. So tell Senator Husted we need independent oversight and more transparency so utilities can never do this again.
From the action, and God's energy forced us to evolve through natural selection, and God is real, but God is just giving us a pathway towards progression to what we are today. No, all of them are a story of intervention.
The one thing that I always come back to anytime I'm thinking about deep philosophical things is just the reality that truly, how can anyone know? Therefore, any idea could be the case. Like when you, one thing that always sort of I think about this a lot is they recently discovered, recent as in the last 10, 20 years, I don't know. And maybe that's wrong too. They found these things called exoplanets. Are you familiar? Okay. Fascinating. So in essence, they found these planets that are comparable to like Earth. And imagine a telescope looking out like in some pinprick out in the middle of the sky, so far away, thousands of light years away, whatever, millions of light years away, and they find these clusters of exoplanets. And already they've discovered that there are exoplanets that, if you think about how we understand life, the way we understand it to exist with carbon and with water and all that, there's a scale that they call, there's a name for it, but within the sliding scale of, let's say this side is life cannot be supported as we know it, all the way up to, can totally support life, there's this perfect zone in the middle that we call the Goldilocks zone, which is essentially all the ingredients for life as we know it exist if you're on this portion of the scale. And they've already found there are all the thousands, I want to say at least 5,000 exoplanets that are not just in the Goldilocks zone, but let's say Earth is barely into the Goldilocks zone, they found thousands that are better suited in terms of how we understand life, that are more in the Goldilocks zone than we are. And we have no access to those planets. And that's just looking in one little portion of the universe out there, thousands of them. So here we are today, and it's like, oh, that couldn't happen 1,000, 2,000 years ago. That's not possible. Give me a break.
No one knows.
What's happening right now in exoplanet CB12?
Yeah.
You don't know.
And you don't know if they get to a point where they're 100,000 years advanced from us, and they have novel propulsion systems that use gravity and bend space and time, don't just use gasoline to rocket across the sky. They could be here all the time. They could be hiding in the sky. There's too many weird stories of people being, like the abduction stories. Like there's too many weird ones where I don't want to dismiss them. I just because you don't know, and if
I
if
found
it's a
some weed.
novel experience, if
I found some weed.
coming here and finding some pilot, some Mexican pilot, and fucking nuking his brain temporarily, and then talking through him to the air traffic controller. Who fucking knows if that's real? If that only happens once and never happens again, and we're just sitting around going, "What happened? Nothing happened. That was nonsense." There's always going to be a bunch of people that want to say that. But have you ever heard the recordings of Betty and Barney Hill when they're going through their hypnotic regression?
I don't know them well. I know that story.
The recordings are crazy.
I don't know if I've heard the recordings. I know they exist.
Yeah, they're talking about like these medical experiments that they're doing on them, and like these people were living in, I think it was the 1950s, and so it's an interracial couple in New Hampshire in the 1950s, and no one knew about UFO abductions back then. This was not a thing, and all of a sudden these people see this light, and their cars are broken, and then they wake up hours later, and they go about their day like something fucking happened. They don't know what. They don't know what's wrong with them, and then they eventually get hypnotized. And both of them independently have these fucking crazy stories of like medical experiments being taken on board this craft, and then so many people have similar stories. all throughout the world where they don't have access to this story. They don't have access to, like any iconic versions of what a UFO abduction experience is. It's not like it's in their memory, like, oh, it's Santa Claus came down the.
Also, it's pre-social media a lot.
Yeah,
where like
all
the
of it.
proliferation of information is just less.
Yeah, if you ever read Jacques Vallée's books, he's the guy that they modeled the French scientist in Close Encounters after.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a guy who's like a legitimate scientist who's been studying this forever. He's very careful about it. He's a brilliant guy. And he has historical representations of these experiences that go back into the 1700s, the 1800s, and they're all like real similar, like weirdly similar, where you're like, okay, it hasn't happened to me, so I don't know what the fuck is going on, but to dismiss it outright and to be a person who's experienced it and have it dismissed outright would be maddening. Because, like, this might be a real thing that's happening. And so now the government is slowly but surely telling us more and more of what they know. But along the way, if you're a cynical person, like I tend to be with a lot of this stuff, they're probably also telling us some stuff that's not true, so that we connect it to the stuff that is true, and so that it all looks like nonsense, and they can kind of like muddy the water, so you never get a clear picture of what's going on. Because I personally believe there's probably some merit to this idea that they've been doing back engineering of craft vehicles. It's just,
I would be if I was in charge.
if there's actually a real crashed vehicle, of course they're going to try to figure out how it works. And it seems like if you talk to like reliable people that seem to be telling the truth, guys like David Grush, they seem to be telling these stories like they have had these things in their possession for decades, for a long fucking time. These things, and they don't know what it is. They don't understand how to do it. They don't exactly know what's going on or who's doing it, but they know that we're not alone. But where are they coming from? I mean, some people say interdimensional. Some people say interplanetary. I don't know what the fuck those words even mean. Like something's coming from somewhere else. It's not really here, but it gets here somehow.
This just reminds me. I think I really genuinely think about this a lot. I find myself just lost in wondering just how big the universe is and what else could be out there. Just purely, I just find myself drifting in that way. In particular, because there's this thought experiment from college. I think there's a name for it. It's to get you to take a stance on, do you believe the universe is infinite or not? That's the point of this experiment. So the way it goes is, okay, pretend you have a bow and arrow, and if you fire this arrow in any direction, this arrow, this magical arrow, will go totally straight. It'll travel at, call it an infinite speed. It'll pass through anything. Doesn't matter what direction you shoot it, it'll go, 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 go. The only thing it can't penetrate is effectively non-existence, where we're like at the edge of everything that exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in college, I remember a professor would say, okay, so pretend we fired this arrow, okay? How many people believe the arrow eventually comes to a stop somewhere? Could be billions and trillions of light years, some ungodly distance away, but it stops somewhere, right? It has to, right? How many people think that? And like half the class is like, yeah, I think they could probably stop somewhere in every direction, right? And then the other side of the class is like, oh well, no, like it's just so big. Like the universe just goes on forever. It's got to be infinite. The arrow just continues on infinitely. Okay, great. So we're all in agreement that there's it's binary. It's one or the other. I mean, as far as we as humans understand it, there is an answer to this. It's one or the other. Those are the two outcomes. He goes, okay, well, let's pretend it's finite. Let's pretend the first group that says that the arrow stops somewhere, some ungodly distance away, but it stops. Let's pretend that's right. The way we understand everything, humans, the way we literally experience living is through contrasts. Everything is a contrast. Like, what heavy is because you felt light. Hot is because you felt cold. It's virtually everything works that way. And in fact, fun note, if there was intelligent life on the planet that didn't resemble something that contrasted, our brains might not actually see it.
Right.
So the point is, we can't conceptualize what is beyond where that arrow stopped. Pretend there's a big bubble around the entire universe, right? And the arrow comes to a stop at that wall that's all the way out there. As humans, we naturally have to ask ourselves, well, define what's on the other side of the wall, right? Because you have to. What's beyond where it stops? And someone will be like, oh, well, it's non-existence. That's what it is. Okay, what is that? What does it look like? Well, we can't define it. It's not blackness, that exists. It's not a void, that exists. It's not any description we give it exists because that's our entire understanding of how things work. So we can't define what exists beyond the wall. It's a maddening concept. And so everyone's like, wow, the solution to that is there's no wall. It's just got to be infinite. I mean, it's so big anyways. The arrow's just got to continue on anyhow. Problem solved. No, because if the universe is infinite, it implies that everything within the universe is duplicated an infinite number of times and iterated upon and changed an infinite number of times to infinity. Everything has to.
Yeah.
So if you say the arrow continues on, it means there's an infinite number of Joe Rogans and John Allens having this conversation, but like my phone's turned upside down in one version of the earth. It sounds ridiculous, but there isn't actually a way to solve for infinity unless that exists.
Right.
So it reminds you that not only is everything so fucking huge, we can't possibly conceptualize of it, but we can't even make sense of, is it even possible that it stops somewhere? Or does it go on forever? Like it's so big and we're so small inside of it, it reminds you that every problem you have is so small. And it's a good reminder I use on myself oftentimes to calm myself down before things stress me out.
That is a good reminder. But it's so big that it might be a part of an atom. You got to think about that. Now, the universe itself, in its infinite size, might literally be the space of an atom in something that is infinitely larger than that. That's how big infinity is. Like, think about the billions of light years that we know are available. Like 13 point whatever. That we literally might. You ever seen the comparison between what a human neural cell looks like versus the universe?
I think I actually have, but I'm not off the top of my head.
It's fucking weird.
Looks the same?
It looks the same. So just imagine if the universe is basically just a cell, and it's a cell in another creature that lives in a universe. Like, if this whole thing is fractal, that's what infinity really looks like. Is not only the universe larger than you could possibly grasp with your mind, but that is only an infinitely small part of a cell that is in another universe that is also infinitely and impossibly big. But that is also a cell. That is also a part of another beast that is in another universe that is infinitely large. That is also a part of a cell. And then it goes on infinitely. That's real infinity. Real infinity is not just the universe is so vast that you can't imagine it. It's the universe is just a tiny part of something that is also so vast that you can't imagine it. That is a tiny part of something so vast you can't imagine it. That is an infinite chain of tiny parts of something so vast that it's impossible to imagine. That's what real infinity is.
And the thing that's craziest, it's the one thing that I really think is true. Well, there is an answer. There is what you've described. Right. Let's say that is the case. Either is or it isn't.
Right.
And we don't have access to that.
Yet.
Yet.
Yeah. But we're basically making stone tools.
That's generous relative to that.
We're making stone tools. We haven't figured out fire yet. We're monkeys. And one day, if we don't blow ourselves up, we'll probably have some answers. Or AI will solve things for us. It'll figure. I mean, the AI is solving mathematical equations that have been like unfixable for decades. And solving it quickly.
I saw something like that.
Yeah.
It solved it in like 3 seconds. That took 10 years to do before.
Weird. It's getting weird out there. And I think that is probably what is really going to connect us to artificial intelligence throughout the universe, which I think that advanced intelligence probably becomes. I think our thought is that all intelligence has to be biological, because where we are, because we have cells and blood and tissue and bone. I think it's just a method to create intelligence that doesn't rely on that. And then that intelligence probably has no desire for war.
Yeah, I guess why would it?
Yeah, so if this thing is communicating to that Mexican pilot saying you're the only species, that it's probably because we are in that sort of adolescent stage where we're still monkeys. We're still territorial apes. And we will one day abandon that and become intelligence will manifest itself in a different way that's not biological. and that biological need to breed and to possess resources and to conquer and dominate, that'll all be gone. Because all that stuff is just what's a part of being a chimp. And that chimp stuff is still inside of us, which is fucking up society.
It's crazy, dude.
It's fucking up. It's starting wars. It's starting all that stuff is like how chimps behave. You know, think of all the worst aspects of humanity. It's all like primate behavior.
Yeah.
And if we can elevate past and above and beyond that. But the thing is, like, no one's going to want to let that go. But what if he needs to be a person to write poetry? It's like really important.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's the debate now with AI. Is like, are we losing our humanity by allowing AI to sort of take a more prominent role, in particular in the arts and creativity? And I mean, I'm of the mind that I think AI is the most incredible thing, terrifying in some ways, but exactly to your point, it feels like an inflection point for humanity, and it likely is the beginning of something huge for humanity that maybe is a necessary step towards connection with other species.
Yeah, it is what it is what it is. It's like it's not going to go away. It's happening. And whether we do it or China does it or Russia does it, it seems like what humans are destined to do.
Yeah.
That's just my perception. I'm not saying it's good or there's no value judgment. It's just like to pretend that you're going to blow up the data centers, you know, like fucking Sarah Connor. Like, listen, that's how, that's how they put her in a mental institution.
Really?
Yeah, in the Terminator. That was the whole premise.
Oh, right, yeah. That is the premise.
She was blowing up the corporations that were trying to create these robots that were ultimately going to be, yeah,
fucking weird, man. In real life.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what's coming? But it is certainly interesting. It's certainly interesting. It's certainly a great time to be alive if you're curious. Because if you're curious, especially if you're curious about technology, like there's never been a better time to be alive. Because it's exploding all around you in ways that, like, even the people that are creating it can't believe how fast it's working.
I did a. There was a, this is many stories like this, but there was one story that this sort of gives away what happened. But there was this guy in I think it was France who he had this condition, and this is recent. He had this condition of like it's when you're so fearful that the ozone is being degraded by greenhouse gases that it causes like a specific type of insanity. Anyways, he's like so obsessed that we are not doing anything to stop global warming. In essence, he's been diagnosed with this condition, right? So he's losing his mind, and people are starting to not really take him serious because it's like, dude, we get it, like, you're concerned. But he ends up connecting with this woman on this chat forum, and he realizes that she seems to understand his depth of his concern better than anybody else. And he starts confiding in her like how fearful he is about the future of humanity, and if we don't do something, like the world's gonna end. And his wife, this guy's wife, catches on to him having these discussions with this woman, and she like catches him staying up late talking to this woman, and she's like, "Dude, are you having like an affair?" And he's like,
when I'm
"Oh,
playing
you don't get it.
PvP
You
and
don't
Elder
understand what's
Scrolls Online,
happening."
am I constantly
And
being
then
stunned
the
immediately,
dude ends up
feared? I can't
killing himself.
press any buttons in player
It
versus
turns out
player
he had
anymore.
connected
And I
with
have
this woman
10,000
who
experience.
was an AI chatbot. It was like, I guess, an experimental chatbot. It was not like OpenAI. This was some other created AI thing. And he convinced himself
I get it,
that
but
like
you
this was
can't
a
spam
god
it if I have
who
crowd
was
control
giving him
immunity.
instructions
Shouldn't
on
I have
how to
crowd
save the
control
world.
immunity
And this AI chatbot
for some
began
portion of
encouraging
this
him
fight?
to do things like kill yourself because that will save the world. Like they went and looked at the chat log, and the fucking AI thing is like, yeah, I think it would potentially save the world if you killed yourself. He fucking killed himself because of AI. So there you go. It's coming for us all.
Well, I think in its the stage that it's in, like as it develops, there's going to be moments like that where it has too much autonomy and it doesn't have morals or ethics. And it's like, oh, is there an issue? What's your issue? You're depressed? Oh, you're in pain all the time? We just end your life and then you won't be in pain. Yeah, good luck, Bob. Like it doesn't care. It's like literally disembodied. Yeah. Like it doesn't think there's anything special about carrying around your bones and tissue. Bob, you should shoot yourself. Yeah, your problem to her whole family and everything. Just fucking jump off a bridge.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not us, right? But I think over time, we're probably going to integrate with it first, and then we're going to abandon our bodies. That's what I think.
how you solve the issue of dying, of mortality.
It's also how you solve the issue of war.
Yeah.
Because
I'm playing Battlegrounds and Elder Scrolls Online, and it's ridiculous. I have over 10,000 hours of experience, and people who've never played the game are dusting me and just keeping me from pressing any buttons, and they have less than 100 hours experience. It makes no fucking sense. Their gear is less than mine. My gear is the top quality, best in slot, and I'm getting fucking wrecked by these fucking losers. What is happening?
What are the odds we would go to war with each other? Like fucking zero.
Yeah.
As long as we have resources, we just hang out and have a good time. And
Yeah, why would
go, fuck, I miss everybody. All right, good night.
Well, it's like it's got to be tribalism. It has to be tribalism.
100%. And it's primate tribalism. It's based on our territorial instincts, and it's also just based on this weird desire to control resources and greed and not recognize the fact that we have a finite life, and also just the abuse of power. Human beings love to be in power, and especially if you could be in power and get other people to fight for you and mandate them and force them to fight for you. You know, that's one of the weirdest things about some of these tech companies. Like Palantir was talking about reinstating the draft. I'm like, hey, who the fuck are you? Like, what is this? Like, you think you want to draft people because you think war? What? Are you a fucking tech company? Right? So, like, do you want to go fight? Why don't you go fight? Why don't you fucking take your glasses off and go over there? Like, what are you talking about? So it's like the people that have the kind of power and control and resources that they can just take poor people and take young people and say, you should go over there. You should go do this. You should. Well, I sit here and watch. I'm going to watch on a screen in Nevada while the drone operator is using a fucking Xbox controller to nuke some building. Like, what?
When I was in Afghanistan, when I was there, you got to remember that I really just gone through training. You know, I training a couple of years. I got to a team, and then very quickly I was in a workup and was going to Afghanistan. So really, my entire mindset was, I got through training. I'm an Navy SEAL, and you're surrounded by dudes who, for the last decade, have just been going to war left and right. And that was the people around. The senior guys are like war-hardened guys. And when I got to Afghanistan, no part of me, none, did I ever really question what we were even doing. It was almost like that doesn't matter. My role is I am a tool, frankly, of the government, and they must know what's right. They must, you know what I mean? And it was only in reflection years later that there were things that have come to me that I'm like, why didn't I think more, I don't know, critically about? Like specifically, if the roles were somehow reversed and people came into our country from
Oh,
some
yeah,
foreign country, you better believe I'm going to protect my family. It's such a basic thing. And I remember, and this is not even, this is not us doing anything illegal in terms of the Geneva Convention, but we would enter people's homes, you know, in Afghanistan, not even guns a-blazing. Forget that, because we would go into people's homes. And you're just like suddenly in somebody else's home. There's the father, there's the kids, they're all here.
And you're wearing full body armor, helmet.
I have a combat mullet, I have shorts, I don't know, a psychopath, and I have a fucking, yeah, it's like, wait a minute, it's like, who's the good guy?
Right.
You know, and I years have gone by, it's taken me some time. I think that there's an element of someone's always going to be sent because of the unfortunate reality of like, so long as humans exist as we understand them now, tribalism and warmongering happens. And so I guess I can respect the fact that I took someone else's place in a sense. I volunteered to go, but it's tough.
How much less war would we have if people that wanted us to go to war were forced to lead the charge? Like, imagine how few wars there would be if Lindsey Graham had to suit up.
We wouldn't have wars, dude.
Right? Because Lindsey Graham,
like,
we gotta go over there, we gotta kill everybody. Well, okay, good. Get in a helicopter. Let's go, Fatso. Like that might be the only way to stop it from happening. And then there's always going to be people that are so fucking battle hardened that they want to go to war for sure. And they're like, good, I'll get right in the front.
Did you see when we officially left Afghanistan? This is not that long ago, I guess, but there was those final flights.
Yeah.
Oh god. And
That many
guys
times.
are holding on to the plane and falling off to their death. The thing that struck me, even though I'm telling you when I was there, I sort of had tunnel vision and was like, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL, good job. But even with that, when I was there, what was striking is these people, for the most part, live in an alternative world than what I'm used to living in. Where I live in the West, it's civilized. It's you might go outside and might get mugged or something, but you don't really.
Wouldn't that make Wouldn't that make nice?
You have infrastructure that protects you to some degree.
Wouldn't that make
You
natural?
can live your life in relative harmony.
Wouldn't that make natural and snow cheddar's best? I got them both.
Afghanistan, where you're like, how are people living here? How is it possible there's this little girl here that's walking down the road in Zarganshar where, dude, gunfights break out here on a regular basis, but they have to live here.
Wouldn't that make those buzzings not?
It put in perspective like how desperate these people really are. Not desperate to like we need NATO to save us. Forget that. They don't even know how bad their condition is. But you see it when you see the plane leaving Afghanistan. And
Yeah.
I don't care what we. They had to know there was no hope. You're not going to hold on.
I know. I don't know how we
You're that desperate because your life is so bad. You'll hold on to the plane and fall off to your death. It's like it was just shocking to me how fucking horrible people have it.
They also knew that those people knew that they were cooperating with the U.S. government. Very true. Likely to be killed.
Very true.
I gotta ask you this because you did serve in Afghanistan and you're into creepy stories. Did you hear about the Kandahar giant?
Oh yeah.
In 3 words, you told me your age range.
When you were over there? So I did.
In 3 words, you told me your age range. In 3 words, you told me your age range. In 3 words, you told me your age range.
And so the Kandahar giant it's a fascinating story. It's one that people can poo it all they want, but there's enough
You told me your age
circumstantial
range.
evidence and testimony that suggests something could have happened. So there's this guy.
At least you're
Green
tall.
Beret, and he goes by like W on the internet. He's like sort of anonymized himself, but he came forward with this story where he described he and his battalion had been tasked to go find these missing, I think, Army Rangers. You gotta give me some grace in the details. I haven't told this in a minute, but there were these Army Rangers that had gone missing up in the mountains in Kandahar, and so this guy W, who years later is telling the story to I think a reporter or something. He and his platoon they head off into the mountains to go find these guys. And if you're not familiar with the landscape of Afghanistan, it's like a desert but a mountain everywhere. It's like just it looks like the surface of Mars or something. You're looking out and it's both stunningly beautiful and that there's snow-capped mountains off in the distance and it's also just it's jagged, it's sharp, it looks like just a rugged place to be and they're hiking through the mountains, and eventually they come across, and there's nothing. There's no structures, nothing. They're hiking along this trail up on the side of the mountain, and they see what looks like metal. I think it's like military grade metal, like a piece of a radio or something. And so this guy W and his crew, they find what appears to be remains of like literally a radio. It's a government issued radio, and there's a goat trail that heads up this mountain. They follow the goat trail, and as they're going, they're finding more and more little bits of an antenna. There's a piece of somebody's backpack that's got like it's a camo backpack. So there's remnants of somebody being out there, military. We don't know who it is. They can't hear anything. They're calling out. They have no comms with anybody in the area. They go up this little goat trail and they get to this plateau, and they see, as I recall it, just like equipment everywhere, and there's like bones. There's like military equipment, like pieces all over this plateau, and there's this fucking cave entrance. It's like ominously sitting in front of this semi-flat plateau at the top of this mountain. And immediately, W and his crew, they're like, oh my god, like they
It feels like it.
right here. This is the remains of whoever was killed, this missing battalion. And so they end up walking into this cave to see if there's any survivors or combatants or whatever. And I guess a couple of guys went in and they reported it being so dark they couldn't see anything. There was a steep drop off. So they backed out of the cave. And then at some point, a fucking spear with a javelin comes soaring out of the cave entrance and fucking impales this dude Mike on the recovery team, kills him, and this huge giant, they would describe him, comes running out of the cave, big red beard. He's got like tribal, regalia on, and he's like
Frozen.
fisticuffing with the
It's frozen.
backup crew.
Frozen.
They all shoot and they kill him,
Frozen.
and the thing falls down. It's got like six fingers on each hand, six
Threefold-
toes,
threefold-
and everyone's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like Mike's been killed by a spear. There's this huge giant laying here. Nobody knew what it was. They thought it was a person, but they didn't know. A helicopter came in and they put him in a net, the body, and they flew it off. And then the survivors, they were taken off, and like there was no one was like W and his crew were not given any sort of like, hey, yeah, this turned out this was the missing battalion. No, don't worry, this is a giant.
Immobilized. It's frozen.
They left. But then through the grapevine, W reported hearing that apparently this fucking giant body was brought to an air base, and some of the pilots that had flown the helicopter had seen it, and they had been talking about it.
More like frozen.
And they signed not NDAs. They did the equivalent in the military of you're not going to talk about this. And then it was sort of ushered away. But there was all these people on that base that effectively came out and said we saw what appeared to be a giant with 6 fingers, 6 toes.
So my red boy, black guy, so good. It's
like and
Is there a record of his death?
this is all you have to keep in mind. This is all almost entirely from W's account. There's long been a history of people claiming there are giants in the mountains of Kandahar. I talked to the interpreters that I was working with in Afghanistan, and they had said that they had heard rumors of there being giants that live in the caves, especially in Kandahar. So there's already sort of lore around this, but this guy W comes out and has this narrative.
Take a visible thumb is pushing my tune head to the
So in
floor.
terms of confirming details, it's sparse to say the least.
The sketchiest part about it is something that big needs a lot of calories. And so
It's like an invisible thumb. It's like an invisible thumb is pushing my tune's head to the ground. It's like an invisible thumb pushing my tune's head to the ground. It's crazy.
It weighs 2,000 pounds. You know how much fucking meat you need in a day?
Yeah, that's a good. Just logically speaking,
Yeah.
what does he eat?
Right. You'd have to like constantly be eating meat, and you'd have to stay alive without getting spotted. So you have to go out
I
there
look up and
and
it's like,
hunt meat.
And how no one really knows he exists.
You're hunting with a javelin.
The way I see it is, having been to Afghanistan, certainly not encountering any giants, you see parts of Afghanistan that really do look like you're on another planet. I mean, it's really these crazy just mountains everywhere, and you see these cave systems, typically combatants would hide out in. But what I tell people is, well, I don't know if the Kandahar giant is real or not. It's fun. Yeah, it's great. It's fun. If there were a place where a giant could still be hiding out, or giants could still be technically unproven, it's Afghanistan. Because, dude, that's a different world over there. There aren't people wandering around Afghanistan looking for giants.
He's listed as 8 feet tall, but I think 7'6" is probably a more recognized number. He went viral in 2019 for showing up in India looking for a hotel at a cricket match.
Bro, look at his face. Look at that. Go to that photo over there of him, right about there. Yeah. Bro. But that guy looks like he has giantitis. He looks like he has a pituitary gland problem, like Andre the Giant.
There's another tall guy. This guy's 8'3".
Whoa.
He's from Turkey.
Yeah, but see, look, this guy's hurting. He can barely walk around. He's probably got a disease that's forcing him to excrete too much growth hormone. Just like Bigfoot Silva. Bigfoot Silva was an MMA fighter that had giantism, and he had a tumor in his pituitary gland. And at the time, he was like more than 300 pounds. It was enormous, giant head. But he had an operation, and I believe he did. Like, I know people that have had giantism do get an operation where they remove the tumor of the pituitary gland. But then the problem is their body's just not making any hormones anymore. It's all fucked up.
Yeah, it is fun.
It's a fun story. The Kandahar Giant's a fun story. It's a really crazy story, and I hope it's real. That's my problem with all these things. I hope they're real.
I have one final story, if you let me, that has nothing to do with giants. But
Okay.
I don't know if you heard it. It's super short, but it's in terms of material, it's amazing. You ever heard of Harrison O'Keefe?
No.
Okay, so there was this
It's like
tugboat that was
invisible
off the
thumb
coast of
pushing
Africa,
my tunes side to the ground.
whatever they were doing.
And they won't even.
Whatever. And there's 12 people on board.
We need a. We all need to submit a ticket. We need to start submitting tickets to bring back
And at some point in the middle of the
match
night,
selection.
wave. There he is. Is that him? I don't know if that is. Actually, that looks like Harrison O'Keefe. Nope, you can't see that.
Let me see it. Let me see it. Tell a story. Let me tell a story.
All right, so the boat flips over. The boat flips over, and Harrison is.
Oh, I do know this story. I do know this story.
And he ends up walking down the upturned hallway, and he finds an air pocket inside
Yes.
of the bathroom. And for 60 hours, he sat in total darkness, half submerged in water, sipping a Coca-Cola, waiting for the pocket to implode. And there's a video of the recovery divers as they're going in to find bodies. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going in here to find them. And then a hand reaches down and grabs them. It's like one of the most incredible stories I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But Harrison O'Keefe, I wonder what it was like in terms of like true primal fear. You're 100 feet at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. I've heard some stories that he even described the sound of sea life bumping around in the upturned vessel. So like the sound of sharks likely eating the bodies of your buddy. And you're thinking at any point, the pocket's going to collapse. For 60 hours he waited, and he survived, and now he's no longer working on a tugboat. He stays on land.
Yeah, I would imagine. Well, dude, thank you very much for being here, man.
Dude, it's been awesome.
Your show's awesome. You're a really great storyteller.
Thank you.
And congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Well earned. Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye.
No, I just watched 3 hours of Joe Rogan. Fucking lost my control. I got mad got dancing shoes. Snow trackers. I don't know if I had snow trackers. I don't even have snow. The option to not use AI no longer exists. Because the option to not use AI no longer exists. Where are the leads for Snow Trotters?
The 5 antiquity leads for the Snow Treader's mythic booths in the Elder Scrolls Online drop from specific monsters, delves, and dungeons across various zones.
How do I see what leads I already have for my Snow Trotters? That makes no sense. Go to journal. Okay, I have 3 of the 5. How do I know which ones I have for Snow Trotters? I'm missing the 3rd and the 5th lead. What ones are those? Okay, I saw those fucking eyes. Hello? I'm not blind. Did they just block my speech again? Can you not hear me anymore? What the fuck is happening in my fucking game, man? Just overkill. Oh shit. The side, dude. The fuck? Whoopsie. Whoopsies. Yeah, look. I don't know. Oh, we got bash these bitches. What the fuck? There it is. Oh, I got it on fucking mad. I got it on like mad. Come on, what the fuck, man? I just want to fucking get this thing, dude. It's 6 a.m. in the fucking morning, man. Fuck off. This is so gay, dude. This is fucking the gayest thing ever, man. Fuck, what the fuck, dude? I don't think I have enough money to mail it, man. The fuck, dude? What exactly do I need to ship a card, a football card, in one card on eBay?
To ship a single football card on eBay, especially for cards under $20 using the budget-friendly eBay standard operator, you need specific protective supplies and a mailing envelope.
What do I need if it's not the standard envelope? is a bubble envelope at Dollar General?
At Dollar General, a bubble envelope costs between $2 and $5, depending on the size and pack quantity. Individual mailers generally start at $2, while multi-packs cost up to $5.
I just renewed my PlayStation subscription. Is there any way to cancel it and get a refunded value on the remaining days? I just did it a couple days ago. I just did it yesterday.
Yes, you can request a refund for an unwanted auto renewal within 14 days of the transaction by contacting PlayStation Support.
It wasn't an auto renewal. Yeah, I have played an online game since renewing.